was truly a fabled land, for nestled in a valley amidst these wooded mountains is a village that is home to a very famous little girl. Well, she was to become famous, that is. It all began one sunny afternoon when she was visiting her grandmother's house in the country. One of her most favorite things to do was to play hide and seek and frolic in the grass with Grandma's pet lamb, Little Wooly.
Looks like you found a friend there.
Yes, I call him Wooly.
So long now. Give our regards to your grandma.
I will. Let's play, Wooly. Where are you, dear? Grandma has something for you. Grandma made this. Do you like it? A red hood. Well, then aren't you going to try it on? From now on, your Little Red Riding Hood. Grandma, thank you for my new hood. You look so pretty in your new hood, and now everyone will call you Red Riding Hood. Huh? How did you guys know that that was my new name? We were at your grandma's.
What other name would you be called wearing a pretty red hood like that? Now, you be careful going home.
Oh, I will. And thank you.
The children of the village envied her, and even the adults took notice. And from that day forth, she was to be known indeed by everyone as Little Red Riding Hood.
And I think it's the least we can do to thank Grandma for your pretty new red hood. So I filled this basket with some of her favorite things for you to bring to her, all right?
Uh-huh.
There. I want you to be very careful, and you must return home before nightfall. Now, remember.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And so once again, Little Red Riding Hood was off through the woods to Grandma's house. Only this time she was carrying a basket full of good things to eat. And someone with a big nose, huge appetite, and real nasty attitude just happened to be lurking nearby.
Yeah, looks like picnic time. Wait a minute there, miss. Excuse me. What's the big hurry?
I'm going to Grandma's to bring her these goodies.
See ya. Somehow I don't think those goodies will make it to Grandma's.
Let him have it.
I'll get you for this.
Yeah? You won't get us. Because you're the one who's gonna really be getting it.
All right.
And here it comes.
And don't bother coming back.
But the wolf was not about to give up his plans for a picnic lunch so easily. He quickly circled back to lay in wait for Little Red Riding Hood.
Grandma will sure be surprised.
Looks like a nice shady spot up ahead there. I'll gobble her up right here and take the basket to go. I've had it, you dirty squirrel. Come on, make my day. Maybe some other day. I don't know what these woods is coming to. Everybody's so hostile.
Meanwhile, Little Red Riding Hood had decided to pick a bouquet of wildflowers for Grandma from a meadow along the way.
Grandma?
Surprise! It's only me. Hey, what about your bringing a posy to Grandma's house, huh?
I've already thought of that. I'm going to bring her a whole bunch of flowers.
Is there something wrong with this one? I mean, go right ahead.
Okay.
If I can just get close enough before she screams. Easy. One more little step. Yeah! know, some days you're just better off laying around in bed. And this is looking like one of those beds. All right. Look out, Grandma, I'm coming in.
Yes, who is it?
Me!
I mean, it's one of your friends. A little surprise visit.
Just a minute.
Now I need a little something for disguise. You'll never know it's me.
But Little Red Riding Hood was just moments away from finding out.
Grandma will love these pretty posies I picked.
However, at this moment, the last thing Grandma needed was posies.
This is really some kind of living. All right, Miss Riding Hood, Grandma's waiting.
Grandma, it's Red Riding Hood.
Oh,
May I come in? I'm alone.
Certainly, my child. The door is open.
You're not feeling well?
Yes, dear. Cold, I'm feeling poorly.
Grandma, what big ears you have. They've grown so much larger since the last time I was visiting with you.
Well, they're all the better to hear you with, my dear. You know what I mean, don't you?
And what great big eyes you have.
Just all the better to see you with, now wouldn't you agree?
And your big mouth.
All the better to eat you with.
now it's time you join Grandma, my little Red Riding Hood.
Hush. That was definitely the sound of a young girl in very grave danger. And it was coming from the old lady's house. We better hurry. It's that wolf. I was afraid of this. But maybe I just might be able to save him. There's only one way to get them out of there.
And so the wolf had not been very clever after all. He had simply swallowed Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother whole.
I never much liked wolves, looking at them from the outside.
I know what you mean. The question is, what do we do with him now?
My special stuffing ought to do the job. Fetch Grandma's sewing kit.
By the time Grandma finished stuffing and darning, the wolf would awake without realizing anything was amiss, for he still had a bellyful. Meanwhile, Red Riding Hood, her grandmother, the hunter, and his dog all waited patiently to see what would happen next.
Yeah. I needed that. Nice nap. I think he's coming out.
Humans don't seem to agree with me. They leave you with that stuffed feeling. And thirsty. All right. Bucket of water to wash these guys down with, I'll be good as new. Empty. This ought to put out the fire. What's happening here? I'm swelling up and getting heavier by the second. Can't hold on any longer.
Careful now.
happen when you bite off a little more than you're able to chew.
No offense, Granny, but remind me never to eat your stuffing. Well, that big bad wolf won't be bothering anyone again thanks to your grandmother here.
You're the one that we should be thanking.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
The mystery is, what was in that stuffing?
Yeah, Grandma. What made the wolf puff up like that?
The oatmeal. I love baking, but I always have all these cookies left over, so I figure cram his belly a pound of salt and he'd provide the water.
And that evening, when Little Red Riding Hood returned to her home in the village, she had quite a tale to tell. Thank goodness that her parents had taught her never to lie. Otherwise, they most likely would not have believed her incredible story and forbid her to repeat it. Then you and I would never have learned the famous story of Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf.
Our story takes place in the vast and ancient land of Persia, where, in a desert village, there once lived two brothers. The eldest brother was Cassim, a very wealthy and successful merchant. The younger brother was Alibaba, a poor woodcutter. Cassim was as devious and mean as Alibaba was honest and hardworking. One day, while cutting wood on the outskirts of the village, Ollie suddenly heard the sound of raucous voices. He quickly went to explore and was met with a frightening sight.
And now, my brave men, into the cave with our treasure!
It was the infamous robber Paka and his band of murderous thieves.
Open sesame!
Open sesame?
Alibaba could not believe his eyes. The Paka had commanded the rock to open with two simple words, two magical words that he would not forget. Now, more curious than ever, he waited and watched, being ever so careful not to make a sound. Suddenly, the rock opened once again and the thieves came out without the treasure.
Himasas Nepo!
Amazed and still frightened, Alibaba remained frozen in place until the 40 thieves were well out of sight. Then, no longer able to contain his curiosity, he carefully approached the spot where he had seen the rock open.
I wonder if it will work for me. It may just be the Paka's voice the rock obeys. Well, I'll know in a minute. Open sesame! It worked!
Very cautiously, Alibaba entered the cave, fearful of what he might find besides treasure. But then he saw it, more gold and jewels than he had ever dreamed possible.
I'm rich! I'm finally wealthy!
But even with all his sudden wealth, Alibaba was not a greedy young man. He had taken only a few small sacks of gold coins, placing them on his donkey and covering them with branches. Remembering the magic words to reseal the cave, he watched as the rock slid back into place. That night, anxious to count his gold, he immediately sent his wife next door to Brother Cassim's to borrow a measure.
Now, we both know my brother is very poor. If he wants to measure something...
That's why I left some syrup in the bottom of the measure. Whatever he places in it must be of value, and some of it will stick.
Now, there you are, and make sure you bring it right back when you're finished with it.
Yes. Alibaba quickly measured the gold, then returned the cup as promised.
Look what my brother measures. Gold coins. Where would he get gold?
Obviously, he found it.
That much I figured out for myself, wife with face of camel.
Now to find out where he found it.
He'll spill in a minute if you give him your slave girl in return.
Any other ideas, Fig Eyes?
None that'll do the trick as good as that.
And Morgiana will be mine?
Just tell me what the password is.
Open sesame to open and amasis nipo to close.
Riches, riches, filthy riches.
The very next morning at sunrise, Cassim, along with every pack horse he owned, was standing at the door to the Paca's cave.
This is it. Now, open sesame! I did it! It worked! Emasis Nipo! Now open sesame! Emasis Nipo!
But not even Cassim, in all his greed, could have envisioned such a mountain of treasure.
I'll just take this chest right here. It should do quite nicely. Who am I kidding? I'll take it all!
And so Cassim began to load the blanket with all that it could possibly hold, and also a great deal more than he would be able to carry. But finally, he did manage to drag the treasure near the door.
Open caraway! Now, what was that word? Open dillweed! May whoever operates this store have their tent warmed by the breath of 1,000 camels! Listen to me! I said, open the stupid door!
But the door would not budge, and Cassim, now frightened and exhausted, had fallen to his knees in despair. Unable to remember the magic words, he feared for the worst, and he was not to be disappointed.
Oh, great Baka! I wasn't going to steal anything.
What's in that bag over there? Laundry? No one who tries to steal from me ever lives to try again.
Having managed to learn from Cassim that it was Alibaba who had first discovered his secret treasure, the Paca sent his trusted Ahmed of the Beady Eyes to Alibaba's village. There, following Cassim's directions, he was to locate the house of Alibaba and mark it so that the Paca and his men would be able to find it by night, for not even the brave and fearless Paca was foolish enough to attempt murder or abduction by the light of day. Finding the right house, Ahmed quickly placed an X on the door and left the village. Not, however, before he had been spotted by the slave girl, Morgiana.
I just know that beady-eyed man was up to no good. Now what could it be?
As Morgiana was now Alibaba's servant, she was not about to take any chances. By the time the Paca and his men arrived that night, she had placed identical X's on every door of every house in the entire neighborhood.
Well, which one was it?
I'm not sure. I only marked one house.
How come all the houses are marked if you only marked one of them, Hummus Brain? What did you have in mind, having me play multiple choice?
I swear I marked only one. But I'm so confused, I'm afraid I've forgotten which.
My most trusted man. I must now resort to Plan B, I guess.
This plan was more complicated. It involved a caravan of 10 camels carrying 40 jars, one of which was filled with oil. The other 39 contained the Paca's men.
I have come here from very, very far to sell my very fine oil in your very fine village. But I can't find a place to rest my head.
Well, I might be able to...
You are most kind. Many, many, many thanks. May you reap only what you have sown, my dear sir.
And may you reap all that you have sown. Please, my house awaits. I hope you have found everything to your liking.
Yes, quite.
But in truth, having Alibaba and his wife retire for the night would have been far more to the Paca's liking.
Forgive me, Master, but I'm afraid we do not have enough oil left to keep the lamps burning.
Oh, but perhaps our guest would allow us to use some of his oil, Morgiana.
Sorry, but I don't have any oil. Ooh, I have a whole caravan full, that's right. But just use the jug marked with an O, will you?
Surely. Thank you.
As Morgiana went to fetch oil for the lamps, she couldn't help thinking about this oil merchant. There was something very strange and familiar about him, if she could only remember what it was.
I know him.
You know who? Who said that?
What?
I said, who said that?
I knew he was no oil merchant.
Suddenly, everything made sense to Morgiana, and she knew she must act quickly. Finding the oil, she took it to the kitchen and heated it to a boil, and made short work of the evil men who had been hiding in wait to kill her master. She now knew that the leader of these men was none other than the feared robber Paka. Now she would perform for her master's guest. Now she would put on the act. She could not tell Alibaba because he would not believe her. He was too kind and naive, but she knew. It had been dark last night, and she had had only a small glimpse of him through the window in her quarters. But now there was no mistaking that evil face. She moved ever closer, her scimitar whirling in the air.
Morgiana! Morgiana, have you lost your mind? This man is my guest! Have you gone mad?
Master, he is an evil robber Paka who wishes to kill you! Now go from this house! Do not ever return, for certain death awaits you.
Attack! I'm ordering you to help me!
There is no one left to help. May you come back in your next life as a camel's hump. Now be gone!
Yes, ma'am. Many, many thanks. I'm going. See, I'm gone. Take the treasure. It's yours. I'm finished. Never again.
The next morning, Alibaba opened the cave and shared the treasure with the entire village. But the one person more deserving of reward than anyone was interested in more important things.
Hello, Abdallah.
Huh? Ah, Morgiana, you look beautiful.
Well, in case you were wondering, Abdallah, Morgiana can marry. She's no longer a slave, you know.
You mean that I am free? Oh, thank you!
There's an old saying, what goes around comes around. Now, whether or not that saying originated with Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, we will never know. Though somehow, I can't help but believe that it did.
Once upon a time, there was a miller who had 3 sons. And while the youngest of the boys worked side by side with his father in the fields, his 2 older brothers whiled away their time loafing on the banks of the river.
You know, if we'd have kept that stray pussycat, we'd both have something to play with anyway.
Yeah, we could both take turns trying to toss him across the river. Let's go catch him.
Nah, it'd be too much like work.
What is it, Michael? What are you mumbling about?
I think I just found a new friend, Papa, and I would like to keep him. Look, he comes right to me and he's not even
All right,
afraid.
son, all right.
Thanks, Papa. Hey! What's wrong? Papa, what is it?
Doctor said he wouldn't have died if he just had more help in the fields. I tried, and I'll miss him.
If anyone should have grieved or felt some sense of guilt, it was Michael's older brothers. But they, it seems, were too busy celebrating their good fortune, for their father had left them the farm and the mill. And young Michael was left with no choice but to set off on his own with nothing but a stray cat and a loaf of bread to his name.
I know you must be hungry. I'll share. Huh? I don't believe my eyes. You're eating like a human being does.
Yep.
Huh? I don't believe it.
Relax. Believe me, I'm very real.
Then I'm not dreaming? But, well, friend, I'll have to take your word for it.
I don't believe this.
What'll become of us now, Pussycat?
Well, Michael.
Yeah?
I have a special plan. I am going to make you a very rich as well as famous young man, Michael. You'll see.
Make me famous?
But of course, because you deserve it. Now wait here. I'll be right back.
This can't be. I must have died, went to the great pond beyond, and just don't know it yet.
Well, what do you think?
You look, but where,
Never mind. Puss in Boots is about to make your fortune.
I was right. I am dreaming.
And so Puss in Boots, as he was to be known from that day forth, set out to begin the first step of his plan. He snared a rabbit, quickly tied it in a sack, and then made his way to the palace of the king.
State your business.
I have a present here for His Majesty.
All right, let him pass.
Thank you.
You have a gift in there from the Marquis?
That's right.
Who is this Marquis, and what has he brought us?
He is the Marquis of Carabas, my lady, and he's asked me to bring you this as a small token of his loyalty.
Ah. Well, please send our thanks.
And my regards as well.
But Puss in Boots had greater things in mind for his master, the Marquis of Carabas, than just a word of thanks. He continued to bring the king these offerings until one day...
A magnificent catch. Your master is truly the most thoughtful subject in my entire realm, and most loyal. I would very much like to meet your master, the Marquis of Carabas. Will you see to it?
Most definitely, my lord.
His hard work was finally paying off. Puss in Boots had given the king directions which would lead his carriage past the river where Michael was waiting. He watched patiently for the king to leave, and then raced ahead to give Michael instructions for the next step of his master plan.
Michael, now do exactly as I tell you. There's no time to lose.
Meanwhile, the king's carriage was drawing nearer.
Now get in the water and pretend you're drowning. Go on!
Now the king was almost at the river.
I don't have time to explain every detail. Please, just do what I say and trust me.
Help, save me!
I'll have to get rid of these rags.
Help! Help! Somebody help me!
Now for the next part of the plan.
Somebody, please!
Halt! Halt the carriage!
Why, it's Puss in Boots.
Oh, your majesty, a terrible thing. Robbers have waylaid my master and thrown him in the river to drown.
The Marquis cannot swim?
No, sire.
Save the Marquis.
Yes, sire.
Help! Help me, help!
Thank heaven you're safe, master. And thank you, your majesty. Just one more favor, sire. My master's clothes have been stolen. If your coachman would lend him his outer garments until we reached my master's castle, I would be eternally grateful.
Thank you, your majesty. I feel much better now.
What a handsome figure of a young man you are. Very handsome indeed. Wouldn't you agree, my dear? Well, why don't we be off now? I'm looking forward to my visit with you, young man.
A visit, your majesty?
We have been looking forward to this visit, your majesty.
We have?
The robbery, no doubt, has badly affected your memory. But you'll be all right. Now, if it please my lord, I have a few affairs I must put in order.
By all means. You're fortunate to have such a fine servant. Well then, young man, the royal carriage awaits.
Now Puss in Boots had the almost impossible task of claiming the land and castle belonging to the evil ogre. This part of his plan would not be easy.
Now, would you all agree to do a favor for me if in return I promise to get rid of that dreaded evil ogre once and for all?
We'd do just about anything to get rid of him.
But what's the favor?
In just a minute, His Majesty will pass by on this very road. Should he ask who your master is, tell him that it's the Marquis of Carabas who owns all of this land and that you all work for him.
Yeah, but what if the ogre hears that?
He won't. You have my solemn word on it. He will never bother you again if you grant me this one request. But I need your answer right this very minute. Will you help as I've asked?
You can count on us. Is there anything else we can do?
No, that's enough.
And now there was but one final step remaining. Puss in Boots would have to meet the dreaded ogre face to face.
Your time has come, Mr. Ogre, whether you're ready or not.
Who is the master of this land that you are working?
Sire, this land belongs to the Marquis of Carabas.
The Marquis? Certainly not all of it.
Every acre of it, your majesty, as far as the eye can see.
Oh, that is most impressive. how would a young man like you have acquired so much land?
Well, mostly, it was luck.
Such modesty. What a find you'd be for a young lady. Hmm?
Oh.
Ah! Stop the carriage. Whoa! Is your master the Marquis of Carabas?
Yes, Majesty. He owns all of the land for as far as one is able to see. And beyond, so I'm told.
I'm becoming envious the more I behold.
Now Puss in Boots had reached the gate of the ogre's castle. He was about to confront the evil creature on his own ground. And as he had expected, his welcome was about as friendly as the surroundings.
You have no business in here.
I have heard you have magical powers, so I wanted to come and see for myself.
Why waste my valuable time?
Because I believe the only power you have is the power to frighten people. That is why they bring you their offerings of game and livestock. Because you're big and ugly, and they are afraid of your threats. But unless you show me your magic and prove to me you can change forms, I will tell everyone you're nothing but a big fake.
Then why don't I just simply kill you right now?
Not very smart. If I don't return with any proof of your power, they've been told to assume you have none.
All right, so be it. You will have your proof. Is this real enough, kitty?
Oh, yes. But I think a mouse or something a little smaller would actually be a much greater test of your powers, don't you?
Oh, is that right? You like a mouse? I'll give you a stupid mouse.
Ah, that's more like it. Now, come right over here to me. Come on.
Oh, you want a closer look, okay. See, I told ya!
Yes, you did. And that's the last you'll ever tell anyone. The last you'll ever frighten or terrorize or hurt anyone ever again.
The curse of the evil ogre had been lifted, and suddenly, as if by magic, the entire castle was transformed back to its original beauty, and none too soon.
Welcome, Majesty, to Carabas Castle. In the name of the Marquis of Carabas, I beseech you to accept our humble hospitality.
Though it appears not to be so humble, Puss in Boots, as it does lavish and extravagant.
This castle belongs to the ogre. Are you out of your mind?
Shh, Michael, it belongs to you now.
Oh.
The ogre is no more, and in fact, it is now the residence of the Marquis of Carabas.
Oh.
I propose a toast to the Marquis of Carabas.
Right here.
Your Majesty.
The Marquis of Carabas.
And to his king.
And now, my son, my daughter has persuaded me that you should be named heir apparent. That, of course, would presume a marriage between the two of you.
I'd like that very much.
Well, then ask her.
All right. My princess, will you marry me?
Mm-hmm.
She will marry me!
And so their wedding was announced, and they became man and wife, prince and princess, the future king and queen of the realm. Puss in Boots had fulfilled his promise, the king had his heir apparent, and Michael and the princess had each other. This son of a poor miller, this daughter of a king, and this stray cat in boots made a strange threesome as they presented themselves to the adoring peasants who had finally been set free from the tyranny of the evil ogre. Thanks to their new regent of the rodents, minister of magic, keeper of the cream, the obliterator of the ogre, and knight of the whiskers himself, Sir Puss in Boots.